Proverbs 17, verse 14. The beginning of strife is like letting out water, so quit before the quarrel breaks out. So the Bible, as we all know, has one interpretation, but many applications. So there's a few here. The beginning of strife. So when a problem starts, there's a situation that occurs that's not right, it's not good. You can see the potential of it rising, of getting worse. Is like letting out water. You have the faucet, it's turned off. Or even a better analogy is a dam, where if there's a leak and there's a little bit of water just coming out, eventually it's going to erode. Eventually it's going to get weaker. Eventually the more water going to come through, and one of these days, somehow, some way, it all breaks out and all hell breaks loose. All the anger's out. The little strife becomes a huge problem, and hatred comes and all these bad things because we allowed it to get that way. We saw the leak, we saw the little hole, we saw the erosion taking place, but we didn't do nothing about it. We just let it be, and it became what it is because we let it. So we have to pay attention and be smart and be wise into how to handle these things when the problem arises. How do we fix it? How can we make peace of this? It says, so quit before the quarrel breaks out. What do you mean quit? Do you mean just you run away, and even though the problem's there, you pretend not to see it and you don't do nothing about it? No, that's you looking at the little hole, the little leak, and letting it fester and build up so you don't quit. Depending on where it is, if it's a stranger or somewhere that's not known to you, and the best thing to do is to run, right? They're not part of my life. Has nothing to do with me. Let me get out of here before the problem breaks out. You're on the street, something goes down. Instead of being curious and go forward, getting yourself into the problem, you might be got into the mix by accident. Don't do that. Quit. Run. Get out of there. But it also means quit before the quarrel breaks out, as far as stop it. Attend to it. If you see it rising, if you see that little hole causing to leak, handle it before it starts eroding. Fix it. Speak kind words. Put yourself in the other person's situation or shoes. Get their perspective. How do we handle this? It's not about who's right, it's about what is right. Am I right? So the beginning of strife is like letting out water. Quit before the quarrel breaks out. Have a discussion instead of an argument. Nobody wins in an argument. Both lose. Have a conversation of it. Have an understanding, a mutual understanding. You agree to disagree. It could also mean in another way, in another application, as far as your faith, concerning your faith. When we compromise, our faith is like that little leak in the dam, that little water, that little evil, the bad things that's coming in your life that you see happening, that you see coming into your life, but you don't do nothing about. You're compromising your faith. Well, it's all right. I guess it's cool. Eventually, it's going to grow, fester around you, and you're going to be in and out of that situation. You don't want to do that. That's compromising your faith. You want to tend to that, fix it, not necessarily rebuke people, but reprove your brother. And if they're wise, they'll listen. So tend to that leak before the erosion comes in your life and that in your faith, and you start to compromise, and it builds up. Eventually you will depart from the faith, not intentionally, but you're gonna see yourself in a situation where you can't do nothing about it. Now the people aren't listening. Now you're involved in a situation where you can't control, and you lose faith, you lose trust, You start thinking about how you can fix it, how you can make things better, but we can do nothing, right? Without Christ, there's nothing. So if you see sin in your life or other people bringing sin to your life, tend to that leak, because that leak is going to grow and eventually that dam is going to break and that sin is going to consume you. Not intentionally, but because you let that leak, you compromise on these certain sins, not only from yourself, but even from other people. Don't let that happen. We have to be bold and attend to those things, to those people. Again, not with arguments, but with discussions. Not with anger, but with love and peace. Agree to disagree. If they don't listen, quit, leave if they don't listen. Or if it's concerning yourself, let's be honest with ourselves. Let's look in the mirror. Is there sin in my life? Let me tend to it. What leaks? We have to be honest with ourselves to find those things. They're small. Those sins in your life are hard to find. Well, they're not hard to find. We just don't want to look for them. But if we really focus and discern it for ourselves, we could find those sins and tend to them before the leaks break out. And sometimes it hurts. Sometimes they're loved ones that are bringing that sin to you. Again, you want to be closer to God, right? And if those leaks are coming in from yourself or from said person, patching up that leak could hurt because it's a loved one and you have to say things and do things that you don't want to do. But we have to follow what God says, not what our heart says, because our heart is deceitful. It'll hurt for that moment, but we know what's best, and that's God's guidance. So we listen to Him, not our heart, not our mind that is connected to our feelings that make our mind work. We have to be led by the Spirit. So listen to God. Don't let the beginning of strife, don't let the beginning of sin and compromise of your faith take place. Quit before the quarrel breaks out. Quit before the compromise consumes you and you're no longer in the faith as you should. You become weak, and when you're weak, you break. Don't break. Be wise. Handle the situation. As tough as it may be bold and do what is right. Follow God. Follow God. God bless.